But the people that I've spoken to are all not necessarily Manchester United fans. They are some are definitely Manchester United fans, but they're all genuine football fans. They're all genuine people, and they're all people that wouldn't want to take money out of a football club. But other than the likes of the great Sir Jim, not one of the people I've spoken to could write a cheque for $5 million. Yes, they're very, very wealthy people, but for $5 billion, they couldn't write that cheque for $5 billion. But as a consortium, pulling them together, we can certainly raise over £5 billion. There's no question. But you're right, they need to be genuine football people. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be speaking to anyone unless they were genuine football fans. By the way, Jim Ratcliffe, I should say, has gone public that he wouldn't take a penny out of any football club that he owned. And when he made a bid for Chelsea, which I understand was refused because it was late, about 3 or 4 weeks late by the deadline, he went public and said, I don't need to take a penny out of Chelsea Football Club because he makes enough money from his various chemical industry companies. And so he's actually gone public saying that. Jim Ratcliffe, as we all know, would be the perfect solution for us. We have written to him, we've spoken to him. My people from my own businesses have contacted his people. But to date, the only feedback we've had is he doesn't really want to get involved with a hostile bid. But I'm taking it from that. If ever the Glazers do say, yeah, we'll sell, let's pray that Jim would be for first in the coup, because he is a Manchester United fan. That is genuine.
Given that on the New York Stock Exchange, Manchester United is based at worth of 1.9 billion, and any offer from yourselves as a consortium would be in the range of 4 to 5 billion. That's more than double than what Manchester United is worth. The Glazers are obviously playing games, asking stupid money, which they know that people won't reach up to. The point I'm bothered about is that what is it that you could say to the fans to bring them on board so that we can be united together? Yes, fans don't have a lot of money, but if they were offered voting shares from the new consortium, I'm sure that would bring a lot of fans on board because they'd love to be part ownership of Manchester United. To me, I'm not a businessman, but I do believe somewhere between 25% and 29% could be offered to the fans once the consortium have bought Manchester United. And that would bring fans and club together, like clubs like Bayern Munich and Dortmund and Barcelona. They all have fans that part own the club, which is what United are after. So could you tell the fans now what you want from them?
100%, the fans are the football club. There's no question about that. Without the fans, as we've seen through the pandemic, watching football in empty stadia is about as appetizing as the worst menu you could imagine. The fans are Manchester United, right across the world. It is the fans that make the brand, the fans that make the club. There's no question. And yes, I've said from day one that the fans should have real influence at the club, proper voting shares. They should have a minimum of 25% of what I call, and so does anyone in commerce really, the A ordinary voting shares. In other words, you've got a 25 plus 1, let's say 25.1%. I say 25.1% because any fan group or any shareholder that controls 25.1% of any shareholding, nothing can be done without their cooperation, without their agreement, without their say-so. So the fans must have at least 25.1% of the Class A ordinary voting shares. What I've seen with the policies put forward and the so-called shares being offered by the Glazer family after the aborted, dreadful European Super League, it's not a scheme which I think carries merit. They're not real voting shares. They're not Class A ordinary voting shares to give the fans 25.1%. And the Glazers are never going to do that because they know they don't then effectively control the football club in the way they have been controlling it. So if the consortium, A, if it's ever pulled together, B, if it's successful, I guarantee if I'm involved in there, my first recommendation is fans must own at least 25.1% minimum of the Class A ordinary voting shares. They are totally watertight with that type of holding.
Now, I'm nobody, me. I'm just a Stretford ender. I'm not a businessman. But can you tell me the difference? What's the difference between a hostile bid compared to a normal takeover bid?
Very much so. A hostile bid is where the current majority shareholders are unwelcoming of that bid. They don't want it. It's hostile. They are saying, hang on, we're not for sale. Hang on, we don't want new ownership. Hang on, we don't want you at all. So people coming forward saying, well, here's the money. Talk to us because we want to buy your shareholding. That is a hostile bid. It's not. You're making a bid for an institution that isn't for sale officially, that isn't on the market. And as far as we know, Manchester United isn't on the market. It isn't for sale. So the reports tell us. So for a consortium coming along and saying, we've got your reported fund or the reported price you're prepared to sell the club for, we have that money. Here it is. There's the evidence. Now, these are the reasons why we think you should sell your shares. So this is a hostile approach because they're saying our shares are not for sale. The difference between that, if it's not a hostile bid, if something's being marketed. If the Glazers say we're putting our shareholding up for sale, offers are welcome, well, that's not a hostile bid because they've announced it for sale. That's the only difference. So at the moment, we are hostile because the club isn't for sale.
So like if I've got a for sale sign outside my house, it's a fair and open bid.
Yes.
If I haven't, someone comes along and says, I'll give you twice as much as what your house is worth, that's a hostile.
Not necessarily, because you might say, thank you very much. There's the key to the house.
Yeah.
It's only hostile if you didn't want to sell your house under any circumstances for any price. Then it's hostile.
I see.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You've answered most of my main questions. As I said, I've been speaking to fans for a number of weeks, and some of these are what you call a Christmas list. Some are decent questions, some are silly questions. You may or may not want to have an opinion on these things. But one of the things that has really, really riled fans over the last number of years is having the name football club taken off Manchester United on all their posters and everything else. It just says Manchester United. We are a football club first, before a business. We're a community. As the banners said over the ESL, football without fans is nothing. And to us, deeply hurtful that it's not got Manchester United Football Club on anything. On the Blazers, we used to have a beautiful emblem on the players' blazers, so wherever they went all over the world, people knew Manchester United Football Club. If you and your consortium did manage to take over Manchester United, would you put Football Club back on the badge?
Well, it is a football club, and why would you want to take it from the badge? It's an anathema to me. I suppose the only commercial argument would be, not that I would agree with it, so let's get this straight. Yes, I would definitely incorporate the words football club, because for me it's the greatest football club in the world, always will be. So yes, that's my personal opinion. I can understand some brand operators, brand managers saying, you don't even need to say football club because you mentioned Manchester United and everybody knows what it is throughout the world. But I'm with you and I'm with the fans. Why not just say it's Manchester United Football Club? That's what it's always been and always will be. But the brand operators would say, well, abbreviate it. But I wouldn't agree with that. And yet I am the person that was the first person to call Manchester United a brand. And I got criticised for that 30 years ago But I only said it because it is a brand, and it's the greatest football brand in the world. And that's all I was saying. No one believed it then. Now, isn't it funny? 30 years on, everyone's saying it's the greatest brand in the world. Well, it's always been that for me.
I mean, Harry Gregg said Manchester United is the Hollywood of football. As you've just said, it is the greatest sports brand in the world. But to fans, especially local fans in Manchester and Salford, we passionately love the word Manchester United Football Club, and it should always be there. The Glazers have made Old Trafford into some sort of Disneyland, and that's why it's just Manchester United Disneyland. We see it every week.
But they're not football people, Steve. The Glazers are not football people.
This is the point we're making. Yeah. We, as football fans, we love it with like a religion, like the flags say, like the football supporters branch is saying all over the world, whether it's Australia, South Africa, North America, Malta, Manchester or Salford. Football club comes before anything.